Chelsea fans, are we really preparing ourselves to say goodbye to Pedro Neto? This afternoon, I am breaking down the absolute biggest, most crucial transfer updates and Stamford Bridge news that you simply cannot afford to miss, especially with some massive new developments now surrounding Enzo Fernandez. Is he still actually on track to sign for Manchester City? There are so many massive things we need to dissect today, but very quickly, if you are still looking to buy any of the new home or away shirts that are currently available right now, this is truly the absolute perfect moment to do it. I highly recommend that you check out the fresh training gear collection as well. Because honestly, man, this warm-up top is, in my own opinion, one of the cleanest designs I have seen lately. If you see anything you like, remember to use my custom discount code at checkout to claim 10% off your final order. We start by breaking down the heavy rumors currently swirling around Pedro Neto. Now, it looks like there is a very real chance Neto might actually choose to sign for Al Hilal, which has caught everyone off guard. Make no mistake, this transfer story has been quietly simmering for some time now. Naturally, Fabrizio Romano broke the news yesterday. Al Hilal have already scheduled a brand new round of direct talks with us this week regarding Pedro Neto. The financial proposal has already been sent to the winger and his camp. Now, this is incredibly interesting because Al Hilal have seemingly beaten Manchester City in the race to secure his signature. Manchester City have completely withdrawn their interest in Pedro Neto, but on top of that, reliable reporters are now suggesting that Pedro Neto has, in fact, already agreed personal terms with Al Hilal. Seriously, the sheer amount of money they must have thrown directly at this player is insane, and I do not even want to think about how massive those wages are. I do not want to imagine how incredibly wealthy Pedro Neto is about to become. You have to assume they are doubling his weekly wages at the bare minimum if they are poaching him from us during his peak years right now. So Al Hilal are looking to seriously invest heavily into their squad. Of course, their main alternative would be Savinho. But then, again, if their backup option is Savinho and Tottenham are close to finalizing an £85 million deal for his services, there is simply no way that Neto could cost less than that when he is actually their main priority over Savinho. Does that make any sense to you? Because it makes absolutely zero sense to me. We have remained completely firm on this, as reported by Ben Jacobs. If you want Neto, he will cost you $100 million. And I will be totally honest with you, I fully agree with this massive price tag. Listen, it has been a wildly overinflated transfer window this summer. It is a bit ridiculous, if you want to look at it that way. But considering how many top clubs desperately need a winger of this specific profile, as I mentioned, he is entering his absolute peak years. We are not selling someone we have actually placed on the transfer list. It is quite obvious that Neto would have a massive role to play under Xabi Alonso. He has featured in nearly all of our recent preseason matches. We have watched him adapt beautifully to playing in what I hesitate to even call a traditional wing-back setup. No, a wing-back role, because it really feels like Neto can play his absolute best football there. And for me personally, it all really comes down to this. The main reason why Neto could seriously thrive under Xabi Alonso this season is that he has always been a highly supportive, incredibly team-first kind of winger. He is the type of winger where if you give him open space and let him go on a 20, 30, or 40-yard run, let him build up his momentum, give him room to drive up the field, and you see his best qualities. Lately, he has found things perhaps not entirely difficult, but he has had to adapt to a totally different style because when you sign for a club like Chelsea, the spaces become incredibly restricted. You are facing compact low blocks for 75% of the game. Those quick transition moments are things you have to work hard for. You must press constantly. And most of the running you end up doing is usually tracking back because you are forced to support the team defensively. But with the specific system that Xabi Alonso is encouraging inside this squad right now, I genuinely feel like Neto makes perfect sense. And under Xabi Alonso, everything is starting to look much more dynamic. We can actually reinterpret a lot of the different players we currently have in our squad because things are starting to look quite different. And listen, if Pedro Neto is simply going to be used in this tactical setup to support the attack where the main focus is on crossing, whipping in early balls, in-swingers, and creating opportunities for others, then this guy is, in my eyes, easily one of the absolute strongest wingers playing that particular style of football. So, Al Hilal, you want to sign an important player from us that we have not even placed on the transfer list? You expect us to lose a massive player during his absolute peak years? They must pay 100 million. Honestly, anything less makes absolutely no sense. I am seeing all of these ridiculous reports coming from the media, and to be completely honest, it is starting to get on my nerves. Whenever we look to sell players to Saudi Arabia, I simply do not understand why we always attract the media backlash. Why is it suddenly a bad thing? Just take a look at the screen right now so we can focus on the actual facts behind the point I am making. Let us examine some of the absolute biggest transfer deals that have gone down in Saudi Arabian football. You have Neymar sitting right at the very top, John Duran in second, and Crescencio Somerville out of nowhere, commanding 75 million from relegated West Ham. There is simply no way Somerville costs more money in this current transfer market compared to someone like Pedro Neto. Then you have Matteo Retegui, or whatever his name is, plus players like Malcolm and Otavio. As you scroll further down this ranking and look at the top 10 transfers, do you actually see any player listed there? Do you see any single player sold from Chelsea in the top 10 most expensive Saudi transfers of all time? No, you do not see that. So, I really do not understand these lazy, useless reporters and their constant articles pushing these ridiculous false equivalencies all the time. I truly do not understand it. Why on earth are West Ham not being heavily scrutinized for this deal? If they can bring in that kind of crazy money for someone like Somerville, it makes absolutely zero sense to me whatsoever. So listen, if Pedro Neto does leave, it is not because the club is pushing him out. It is solely because the player himself is genuinely interested in going. And besides, the money on offer is just so ridiculously high that you cannot even begin to ignore it. Looking at it from Neto's perspective, I completely understand why he would consider them. Because the sheer volume of money being thrown in his direction is undeniable. It honestly reminds me of that classic scene in Dragon Ball Z when Vegeta was training under intense pressure. He was doing his training at 400 times normal gravity, and the weight of it just had him completely pinned to the floor. That is exactly the crushing amount of money that they are throwing at this guy right now. And I understand Neto's point of view. Think of your family. Think of the legacy you are building. Think about the generational wealth you can accumulate over a short period. You do a simple 2-year stint to secure tax-free money in Saudi Arabia. Then you can easily return to Europe at 28 or 29 years old, which is still the absolute prime of your career. Has it really damaged the careers of top players like Joao Cancelo, who regularly moves to Saudi and then returns to put in massive performances in Europe? The list of examples just goes on and on and on. So yes, it is going to be incredibly fascinating to see how this plays out. It is absolute crazy money, but we must stand firm on a price tag of 100 million. That is the final bottom line. Otherwise, we should absolutely keep him. Make sure to share your thoughts on how you feel about the whole Pedro Neto situation. It really does look like the club is trying to generate a larger war chest so we can potentially execute one more massive marquee signing before the transfer window closes. But before we go any further, I have some major life-changing events coming up for me in less than 3 weeks' time. The wedding is on the 6th, and I honestly cannot believe it is happening right during the massive Arsenal game. I am currently trying to figure out some secret way to stream the match while simultaneously attending my own wedding ceremony. Honestly, I cannot actually do that. I will have to record the match and watch it at midnight once the wedding celebrations are completely finished. Once the whole event is finally over. We are getting incredibly close to the big day now. I am definitely feeling much stronger. Obviously, I am not looking my absolute best without a proper haircut right now, but I really want to give a massive shout out to Oxford Natural for partnering with me and supporting my health journey on the road to my wedding. So, that is a quick update on my personal life, especially with the wedding now being less than one single month away. Everything is starting to feel incredibly real, and I only have a few precious weeks left to put in some serious physical work. You can see exactly what my training routine looks like at the moment. To be totally honest with you, my workouts are constantly shifting back and forth between early morning and late evening sessions. There are definitely certain mornings when I have too many other responsibilities, or I simply do not feel motivated. But I am still pushing hard to keep my consistency up. But slowly and surely, I am starting to feel a lot more energetic, and my body is definitely growing stronger by the day. This is exactly why I am so incredibly grateful to Oxford Natural, as their Optimum Day and Optimum Night supplements are truly supporting my entire fitness journey. The Optimum Day formula has been absolutely vital in giving me that extra mental spark to jump straight into those tough morning training sessions. These 7 premium ingredients supply all the energy I desperately need, and I can truly feel the difference when I am pushing for those final extra reps. Beyond just pure stamina, Optimum Day supports me by enhancing my mental focus, keeping my body balanced, and naturally regulating my blood sugar levels. It provides excellent metabolic support, lifts my daily mood, and keeps my severe food cravings in check. Because let us be honest, my cravings are usually quite bad. But as we all know, when you are putting in intense work at the gym, how your body recovers during the night is just as critical to your progress. Thankfully, the specialized Optimum Night range does an incredible job of accelerating my muscle recovery while I sleep. It is packed with key ingredients like magnesium biglycinate, which works to deeply relax your tired muscles while promoting a much deeper, more restful sleep. There are so many other incredible benefits that come with using the Optimum Night range, including naturally managing your daily stress and keeping your anxiety levels low. It is all about muscle and nerve support, relaxation, and real recovery. I have never really done anything quite like this before. I am not going to lie, it feels pretty cool starting this journey with Oxford Natural, and seeing some of the big names attached to them definitely gave me that extra confidence. Just seeing how much weight Uncle Robbie lost, seeing ambassadors like Michael Owen on board, and even regular people who have gone through the exact same program that I am starting now. Between the clinic and the appointments, this is not overnight stuff. Hopefully, I am inspiring some of you out there. I am in my 30s now. At this stage of life, we all start to feel our bodies a bit differently. If you are inspired to kickstart your own health journey, take a look. Scan that QR code, find the links in the description, and use code BLTV for 70% off. That is Oxford Natural Optimum Day and Optimum Night. I will keep you guys posted as I continue on this road to the big wedding day. The countdown is not stopping. Now, my friends, let us discuss the very latest updates surrounding Chelsea midfielder Enzo Fernandez. Is there still a real chance that he leaves us to sign for Manchester City? But in a transfer window as crazy as this, I am not leaving anything to chance. Absolutely anything can happen if the money is right. But let us start with a massive update coming directly from journalist Matt Law. I have been warning about this, and many of you in the comments predicted this exact scenario too. But naturally, Manchester City now face a massive price hike for Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea made things very clear throughout this entire transfer window. If you want to sign Enzo Fernandez, you pay £120 million. This was not some official written contract, it was entirely a verbal agreement. The stance was simple. Look, this is the exact price tag if you want him right now. But once we pass that crucial deadline, the rules completely change. As I have been warning you, if you want to sign him today, he is going to cost far more. Honestly, he should cost way more in comparison to Ali Anderson. After watching the absolute horror show that Maresca's Manchester City put on against Arsenal yesterday, it is glaringly obvious that they desperately need to invest heavily in their midfield. Naturally, when you know how desperate a club is, you have to slap a massive premium on top of their valuation. Let us see what happens here next. Manchester City are currently in advanced negotiations to sign Aymeric Laporte, a player who tactically might actually be far more important to them than Enzo Fernandez at this moment in time. But they are bringing in serious money right now. The big sale of Ruben Dias and Rodri making that completely wild move to join Barcelona. Even Savinho is reportedly edging closer to an exit for an absolutely insane amount of money. Honestly, I do not understand how Manchester City are constantly allowed to pull off these absolutely crazy flips in the transfer market. Take their backup goalkeeper going for nearly 50 million euros. I mean, the guy barely even played a single match for them last season. Yet, nobody ever seems to question what Manchester City does in the transfer window, which makes zero sense to me. They are sitting on a massive mountain of cash. but now they are forced to invest heavily in rebuilding this squad. Otherwise, this upcoming season could look incredibly dark for them. Meanwhile, we just received some major updates from several prominent South American journalists. And as the latest reports are stating, the sale of Rodri officially paves the way for Enzo Fernandez to join Manchester City, with Enzo Maresca aggressively pushing to get this deal done. He is desperate. Despite the firm ultimatum, they remain fully open to selling him. Now the reporter Eduardo Burgos is incredibly adamant that Enzo Fernandez wants to push for a reunion with his former manager, Enzo Maresca. He wants this transfer, and he is determined to make it happen. Manchester City certainly have the financial power to easily fund this major deal. Meanwhile, super agent Jorge Mendes is actively working behind the scenes to try and negotiate a final transfer agreement. More interestingly, the report mentions that our co-owner Behdad Eghbali is actively driving this, and he genuinely wants to see the midfielder leave the football club immediately. Is Eghbali thinking that he is simply not going to be messed around with, and that nobody is going to take advantage of the club like that again? Chelsea were incredibly fair with him despite all the antics he pulled and how he basically allowed himself to become nothing but a puppet for his representative. But I am not going to blame this entirely on his agent. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez must take responsibility because he is also making it clear how desperate he is to leave this club. Let us keep it real. The rumors of Enzo Fernandez moving to Manchester City are only going to heat up further. Let us see what can actually be achieved regarding a potential deal being struck. Are there any players we would actually take from Manchester City right now? Honestly, there is nobody I can think of who fits our pressing needs. I believe Manchester City must offer at least £135 million, or realistically, £140 million, breaking the British transfer record just to get this deal finalized. And they certainly have the funds to make that happen. They absolutely do. But as I keep asking, why would Enzo Fernandez ever want to walk away from such a promising project that is currently building? Right here under Xabi Alonso, playing in your absolute favorite position? We all watched that incredible cameo against Real Sociedad. Enzo Fernandez was dropping deep to collect from the defenders, dictating the build-up play, spraying long balls around for fun, and completely unlocking the side. You really want to leave all that beautiful football behind just to run yourself into the ground under Enzo Maresca? They're serious? Do you honestly think someone like Eberechi Eze is going to be the perfect counterweight to balance your game? To be completely real with you, I am highly skeptical. I mean, if we were having a disastrous summer transfer window, with zero signings and without Xabi Alonso at the helm, I could easily understand you wanting to leave and say, fair enough, go ahead. Many supporters have been pretty understanding about Enzo Fernandez wanting to move on for most of the year, but now a lot of us are starting to look at this and think, hold on a second, this is getting a bit ridiculous. Wait a minute, you are not signing for Real Madrid here. You are actually this desperate to force a move to a direct domestic rival. That is just completely insane to me. Let us be completely honest about this, because I am not going to sugarcoat things. Mason Mount used to take an absolute hammering from the fans for doing far less than what is happening here. Absolutely. His situation was entirely different, because the hierarchy was actively treating him poorly, offering contract terms 1 week only to withdraw them the next, and lowballing him on purpose, basically forcing him out of the squad the same way they did with Conor Gallagher. It was clear as day. Yet a single video alongside his father instantly transformed him into public enemy number one, even though he never actually wanted to abandon us in the first place. The sheer irony of it is that the exact player brought in to replace him is now using those identical transfer tactics that Mount got dragged for. And for what? To dump us for the manager who betrayed us, all to help finance his dream move to Manchester City. There is an unbelievable amount of backstabbing going on behind the scenes. It feels like a high-stakes corporate drama. But wait, things can still swing back. Maybe Manchester City simply cannot afford it. Can they really finance deals for both Balde and Enzo in one transfer window? Only time will tell, we shall see. But looking at the bigger picture, Enzo Fernandez, leaving us at this exact moment feels like a colossal blunder, especially considering the style of play we are about to showcase. Turning your back on a world-class manager like Xabi Alonso just seems completely reckless to me. I want to hear from you. Where do you stand on this unfolding drama? Drop your comments below because we are shifting gears now to look at the latest updates regarding our potential midfield targets. Let us take a quick look at the latest reporting over on Simon Phillips' platform. This is where some of the most reliable, inside information is emerging regarding our current summer midfield targets. With Enzo Fernandez seemingly on the verge of departure, and the board willing to accept a suitable financial offer, they are making this move because the current market is absolutely flooded with top-tier players we could sign instead. Arsenal still consider Martín Zubimendi a crucial player they want to hold on to, but if circumstances were to shift rapidly, and an opening appears for them to secure a direct replacement, then suddenly Zubimendi could become available for a massive fee in the final days of the transfer market, which would require a huge financial outlay. We already know that Xabi Alonso is a massive admirer and previously wanted him at Real Madrid, and he would jump at another chance to manage him in this system, since he is arguably the finest young Xhaka-style midfielder available in the current market, besides someone like Bruno Guimaraes, which brings us to why Enzo leaving would make me so incredibly angry, especially after you blocked us from going all out to sign Bruno by simply wasting for time. But it is what it is. Make sure to keep a close eye on Zubimendi. We also understand, thanks to reporting from Simon Phillips, that there have been more negotiations held with Crystal Palace recently. And whenever we are locked in talks with Crystal Palace, it usually means we are either loaning out one of our academy prospects or finally launching a bid for our long-term target, Adam Wharton. That is absolutely a situation to monitor closely. When you look at Chelsea's current stance, right now we are simply trying to calculate how likely this scenario actually is and see exactly what it will take to secure a proper midfield replacement for Enzo Fernandez. We need to put ourselves in the absolute best position to prepare for that. That is one of the key reasons we must demand an even higher transfer fee than what we first wanted for the sale of Enzo. The reality is, we are being pushed into a tight corner as we creep closer to the end of this transfer window, which means we will have to pay an absolute premium ourselves just to secure a high-quality replacement for Enzo Fernandez. We simply cannot afford to overlook that crucial detail. So yes, we absolutely have to push our financial demands to the absolute limit during these final days. Honestly, I completely agree with how the club is handling its sporting business throughout this crazy summer. Many tough lessons have definitely been learned. Another highly rated young player we are learning more about is Alex Scott over at Bournemouth. The latest media reports suggest we are keeping these inquiries incredibly quiet and low-key. There is plenty of stiff competition out there for his signature. Out of respect for Bournemouth, we do not want these sensitive negotiations leaked to the press before everything is finalized, right? Undermining their transfer position. I can totally understand that approach. After all, who knows if Bournemouth are already looking at potential alternatives to replace Scott in the meantime? Any premature media leaks could easily jeopardize the entire operation. It is a massive risk, and we actually nearly paid the price ourselves. Wait. No, we actually did pay a heavy price this summer when we tried to negotiate for Xhaka, simply because all the details got leaked and went completely public. So that is definitely something to watch. Of course, we are all aware of the recent transfer links to players like Mohamed Camara and Manu Koné, but at the time of recording this, there are no real updates on their situations. So it really looks like we are preparing ourselves for a massive midfield signing if Manchester City find a way to strike a mega deal for Enzo Fernandez. The transfer clock is rapidly ticking down now. They are absolutely desperate to secure a world-class midfielder. Let us see how this drama unfolds. That is all the news for now. Go ahead and share your own thoughts and opinions on these massive transfer rumors, and keep an eye out for our next update, where we will be joined by an incredibly exciting special guest that you will love. We will be back with more major updates very soon. Take care.